Hi, I'm Tyson with Aviation Adventures, and today Callie and I are down here in Yuma, Arizona at Morris Ag Air. Now, Miles Morris is the owner, and they operate 3 fixed-wing aircraft out of this location, as well as 2 helicopters. You can see the one behind me. The gentleman next to me, this is Heppe, and he is one of the helicopter pilots. He's been spraying since 2014, and he's been with Miles for the last 3 seasons. I'm very excited because we've never had the opportunity to check out a helicopter before. They've sprayed around me, I've seen them working, and I've always been amazed by them. So I'm going to let Chaz take it from here. He's going to tell you all about the spray system that's on the helicopter and the helicopter that they're using.
This is a 206 L3. It started its life at Rotorcraft Leasing out of Louisiana.
Okay.
And Rotorcraft Leasing, I believe they do oil fields, the offshore oil rigs, and then the EMS. So it's got many different roles that it can fulfill. Miles transformed it into a spray ship by adding the simplex spray system on it. And it's got the belly tank, 150 gallon capacity, and then we run a hydraulic pump off the engine, off of the accessory drive gear on the engine.
Okay.
We run a 50-foot swath with our booms, 75% of the rotor diameter.
Okay.
We're 42 feet long, 42 and some change. It has the Allison 250 C30P in it at about 650 shaft horsepower.
Wow, okay.
We are limited horsepower by the transmission.
Okay.
So
I think the big thing here is what Chaz mentioned earlier. This is just a normal helicopter behind us. With the spray planes that you see me and everyone else flying out there, those have been produced just for the act of spraying, where this helicopter serves a lot of different functions. Also, he mentioned that there's a hydraulic pump on this to actually get pressure into these booms and get the product out onto the field, where in the airplane, with that, it's going to be a wind-driven pump. It actually has fan blades on the front, and me flying through the air is spinning that, causing pressure to build up in the system. About the only thing that I'm seeing right now that's pretty similar between what you're doing and what we're doing, this boom looks like the boom that I'd have on the airplane. I mean, it looks like you're running these CP11 TTs. That's what I've got on the airplane as well. When we step over here and look at this, you're using the same dry brake that the airplanes are using, and this is going to prevent any type of spillage or anything like that. So when they disconnect this from the load pad, the hose, the dry brake prevents any dribble or drip ever occurring. Also, it looks like you have single point fuel here.
yeah.
Okay.
So when we land on the truck, the mixers and loaders don't have to climb up on top of the pad on top of the truck. It's all right there at chest level, a lot quicker on the truck, on and off the truck.
Okay. Can you elaborate on the truck? Because I mean, definitely when I think of crop dusting, I mean, we're here at Miles's strip and all the airplanes come in, they load, and then they take off and they fly to the field. You mentioned the truck.
Yeah, so the disadvantage to the helicopter is we have a smaller tank than the airplanes. So we take a truck or a nurse truck to the field and we fly directly from the field.
Okay.
So some operations land on the ground and like a dirt road or, you know, in the field, but we land on top of the truck and we'll take off the top of the truck. So
okay, so it would take a little bit longer for you guys to get back here and get back to the field again, and you have the ability to just be right there at the field.
Right.
You're just going to land right on top of the truck. They're going to load you with 150 gallons. You're going to take off, and 5-10 seconds later, you're back in that field spraying.
Right, not 150 gallons. The capacity of the tank is 150, but we don't carry 150.
How much do you usually carry?
On average, we're 120, 125.
Okay.
Some nights, if it's cool enough, we'll go up to the 140s.
Okay.
So,
and that's going to be because, I mean, in the summertime, during the hottest months, how cool or hot does it actually stay during the nighttime when you guys are spraying?
It stays over the hundreds at nights.
That's, I mean, for us to see 100 degrees in North Dakota, it happens, but it's definitely not typical. So down here, just because of how hot it is, you're not going to be able to take off fully loaded.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
No, we'll over torque, over temp.
Okay, absolutely. We mentioned in another video that we did as far as the night operations here. For me, the helicopter's obviously something that I'm not used to, but definitely out of my realm, and it's still hard for me to grasp after spending last night here and seeing this, but these guys do all of the spraying at night. So if we walk around to the front of the helicopter, you can see that Chaz has 4 lights on it that light up your path as you're spraying.
Correct.
Can you tell us about the different functions that these have? It looks like the ones on the skid are maybe pointed out at an angle slightly.
So yeah, they're pointed out slightly a little bit of an angle. We have the 4 lights and it just gives us a wider range of view. These are all spots instead of the flood LED lights.
Okay.
So we put 4 of them on there, so we just have a wider range to see as we're going down the field.
Okay. How far in front of you? Well, I guess we'll start with, in an airplane, I'm used to about 150 miles per hour as a ground speed. How fast are you going in the helicopter?
It depends on the size of the field, but typically it's 55 to 65 miles an hour.
Okay. And so with that kind of speed, how far in front of you can you see with the lights?
With these lights, we're able to see about probably a quarter mile.
Quarter mile?
Yeah.
Okay. If you've not seen the video that Callie did with Ben in the airplane and what goes into the nighttime spraying, one thing they do have is a spotter on the ground. And this person is in a pickup truck. They've done a recon of the field. They've gone around it, make sure no one's in the field. They look for obstructions. And what else do they do?
They give us wind. Again, the obstructions for the field, wires, trees, houses, if anybody's walking around the field. The helicopter is unique in the fact that we'll get closer to the houses because we can, turn inside the field without having to turn over like the airplane. So we're slower and it's just more agile. So we have a lot more interactions with people than what the airplanes do.
Okay. And in an airplane, usually maybe 25, 30 seconds is what a typical turn would take. How fast are you turning in the helicopter?
Gosh, 10 seconds.
See, to me, when I've seen a helicopter out spraying, that's the one thing that, again, it's pretty crazy to see that just pull right out of the field and it's almost pretty instantaneous. They turn and they're right back in it. Can we open up the cockpit, take a look inside and see what everything is you have going on inside? Not only can we open it up, we can just take the entire door off. One thing that I noticed right off the bat is your GPS is a little bit different. You still have a light bar, but our light bar is out on the nose of the aircraft, outside. Obviously, you can't do that in a helicopter, so you have it mounted right here as well as your track map GPS. I've never run one of these. Are they specific for helicopters, or do they do them in fixed wing as well?
They do them in the fixed wing as well. This one particularly is for the helicopter, but they do have a fixed wing version. That is an airplane light bar. They do make a helicopter light bar, but we run the airplane light bar.
Okay.
No, that's just what Miles chose.
Yeah.
So that's what we run.
Okay. And then I know I asked you this last night about patterns. I particularly 99% of the time I'm running a racetrack pattern. You're doing a back-to-back, but you're skipping. It's a skip back-to-back.
Yeah, we'll do a skip swath or back-to-back.
Okay.
And it's just easier on the airframe, easier on the helicopter, the components and everything else if you do that.
Okay.
So that's the only reason for it.
Okay. Main reason that I personally like the racetrack is because it sets me up, if the fields are all quarters, 160 acres, it kind of sets me up for the same turn every time. And because I said earlier it's 25 or 30 seconds, when you're fully loaded, you're kind of making this big wide turn.
Right.
But in the helicopter, you were saying 5 or 10 seconds, you can just come out and come right back in. Is that why you prefer running such a close pattern with your last swath, is because you can make a tight turn with it?
Yes. Yeah. It's just, it really depends on the pilot. I mean, some of the helicopter pilots may run racetracks, may run, back to back and not do the skip swath. With the skip swath, in my opinion, you're actually able to carry your speed through the turn. Okay. So you're not pulling as much power at the bottom of the turn as if you were doing back-to-back.
Okay.
So the back-to-back, you go up and you trade altitude for airspeed, then it turns altitude to airspeed back on the bottom end.
Okay.
So with the skip swath, you can just carry it all the way through.
Okay.
Just a little miniature version of the racetrack airplane turns.
Okay.
So.
Looking at your dash, it looks like you have a lot of similar instrumentation that I'd find in the fixed wing. I personally don't have the attitude indicator, but I mean, you still have airspeed, your altimeter, and then you have a lot of gauges that I'd find in mine just with your turbine. Now, the helicopter flies completely different than an airplane, obviously.
Yes.
But this could be an extremely long video, and we're not going to go too far into that, but I know you have a cyclic and you still have a stick. So can you just touch on this, on how you're actually sitting in here and flying the aircraft?
Most definitely. So you have the cyclic, and for just the easiest terms, left, right, forward, back, and you have your collective, which is up, down.
Okay.
So to get a little more complicated, your collective can also be your brake, because when you come into the turn, you're going to start pulling power, or you come into the stop, you're going to start pulling power to slow you down.
Okay.
So, and then you have the pedals, which keep the helicopter's nose left, right.
Okay, so your pedals are still going to control the yaw of the helicopter,
yes.
And that is exactly what the pedals do in the airplane. And I guess the idea of the stick, see, this already shows you how much I don't know. I called this the collective or the cyclic, and that just the stick. But so this is going to be still controlling left to right.
Correct.
This one, though, is going to be controlling up and down movement.
Yes.
So in the airplane on the stick, I would push forward or pull back. In the helicopter, you're controlling all of that with your left hand on the collective.
Yes.
One thing that I'm noticing from what you're saying is that you're always flying with your left hand here and your right hand here, meaning your hands seem like they're always full. I can see a lot of switches here that looks like you could hit with your thumb, as well as a lot of switches on the grip. Can you ever just take your hands off of the ship and it'll fly, or is this 100% hands-on the whole time?
It is 100% hands-on the whole time. So when we're sitting on the truck, we can actually take our hands off the controls because you're down collective and you're pretty much just waiting. Nothing's going to happen. So we can then use our hands to do our switches on the GPS, swap fields, new polygons, whatever we want to do. Miles has had these wired in so we can use the toggle switch to do our GPS.
Okay, so just on the Chinaman hat, going through that, you can actually change pages on the GPS and different functions that the GPS is doing.
So we can start a new job. Then our switches here, this is to turn our pump on. So we start agitating the mix or just even the pump just spinning. And then this top switch right here is our boom valve, which is chemical to the boom or not.
Okay. I will say I take for granted how easy the airplane is to fly, because if I'm gonna fill out a map, maybe I'll put my clipboard on the top of the stick to just kind of hold the stick as I try to write something, or I'll put it in between my knees as I'm ferrying to a field to try to eat a sandwich. That's not happening with you.
Not at all.
It's super surprising, and I don't know if I could take on that workload. Just like you guys do at night, I'm not so sure I have it in me to be able to spray at night. I know that this was a pretty basic video as to how all of this works and what it actually takes to get the product out. It's a lot more involved than what we're seeing here. But if people have any questions, definitely leave them in the comment section below. I probably won't know the answer, but I will bug Chaz and he will know the answer. By the way, he's here on his day off to do this for us. So I want to say thank you again to Chaz and again to Miles Morris for having us here at Morris Ag Air. Callie and I noticed that this has a lot of seats in it. How many can, if you filled this up and it was able to haul the weight, how many people can you put in here?
5 in the back and 1 in the front, plus the pilot.
I mean, I'm counting 1, 2, Callie's holding the camera, you have a little boy. I mean, I'm thinking 4. I think Callie and I need to go for a ride in this. Before we do that, we like to ask people if there's anything that they would like the general public to know that maybe they don't know, or not something that maybe they've thought about in the past. Is there something that you can think about with this, or just agriculture in general, that you'd like to get out there?
The only thing that I could really think of is just watch from a distance.
Okay, I like that. Chaz has a great point. When we're out there spraying and you pull up on the edge of the field, it is neat. I was watching Ben spray last night, and it's so cool to be there and watch an airplane spray. But do it from a distance,
right?
Because when you're on the edge of the field, it screws up our job. We can't spray the field with you right on the edge of it. We have to pull out and go somewhere else, or stop the application altogether because we don't have anywhere else to go. So to sign off, I always say fly low, fly fast. Do you have anything from the helicopter world?
Fly lower and turn faster than the plane.
Yeah, he just went there. Thanks again for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below and we'll get back to you. Thank you again to Miles Morris for having us here in Yuma, Arizona at Morris Ag Air. And thank you again to Chaz for taking his day off and spending it with Callie and I to enlighten us and enlighten you guys.